Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're not just going to learn something, we're going to build something. Using a framework called the Architect's Toolkit for Mental Coherence, we are going to assemble the tools you need for a clearer, more structured mind.
So, let's kick things off with a question that honestly, I think gets to the heart of what we're all dealing with these days. In a world that is just so noisy, so full of distractions, how do you find any kind of order inside your own head?
The source material paints this really great picture. Think of an unorganized mind like a messy workshop. All the tools are there, sure, but they're scattered everywhere, totally useless when you need them. But a coherent framework, that organizes the whole space. Everything is connected, everything has a purpose, and you're ready to get to work.
So here's the game plan. We're going to equip ourselves with 4 essential tools from the Architect's Toolkit. We'll look at connecting ideas, figuring out wants versus needs, seeing the ripples of our actions through time, and correcting our own mental lens. And then we'll see how it all comes together.
Okay, let's jump right in with our very first tool. This is all about taking those random facts, those little experiences, and all the principles kind of floating around in your mind, and weaving them together into a powerful, interconnected network. Okay, so this is the absolute key, right? Clarity isn't about just cramming more facts into your brain. No way! It comes from building relationships between the things you know. When you link ideas, they suddenly have deeper meaning. You start spotting patterns you never saw before, and you can actually use your knowledge so much more effectively.
So how do we do that? Well, the source breaks it down into 3 specific types of connections we need to build. First, connecting your core principles to what you actually do every day. Second, connecting your real-life experiences back to those principles. And third, and this is a fun one, connecting ideas from totally different fields to spark brand new insights.
And the best part, this isn't some abstract theory. You can literally start doing this stuff today. Try grabbing a piece of paper and mind mapping one of your principles, or just get in the habit of asking yourself, hey, what does this remind me of? You could even just keep a simple journal to jot down those aha moments when 2 ideas click together.
All right, tool number 2. And this one is, it's so critical for just getting through the day. It's all about filtering that endless buffet of choices we face, so we can make sure our actions actually line up with what we truly value.
And to help us figure this out, the source gives us this really cool mental model, the spectrum of psychological engagement. It lets you take any choice and consciously place it on a scale, all the way from something you don't even know exists to something that feels absolutely essential to your being. It's kind of like a diagnostic tool for your own desires.
And this is where the rubber meets the road. It's the difference between a want and a need. A want is all about desire, right? It's that fleeting impulse that feels good in the moment. But a need is about alignment. It's something that actually fuels your core principles and your long-term vision. You might want a slice of cake, but you need real nourishment.
And man, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Discipline isn't about punishing yourself or saying no to everything fun. It's about creating that little bit of space, that pause between the feeling of a want and the action of doing, so you can actually choose what's best for you.
Okay, on to our third tool. This is where we start to level up our thinking. We're moving beyond just making a single good decision and into understanding its ripple effects, how one single choice can echo across your entire life and way, way into the future.
You can use a super simple tool, something like this time system matrix. It's actually really powerful. Before you make a big choice, you just ask yourself 2 basic questions. First, what other parts of my life, my career, my health, my family, is this going to affect? And second, what's the impact going to be this week versus next year versus 10 years from now?
So what this really means is you've got to start thinking across these 3 different time horizons, right? You've got the immediate, the medium term, and then the really long term. Look, thinking about the short term isn't bad. It's just not the whole picture. The real magic happens when you find a choice where the benefits line up across all 3. All right, time for a final tool. And this is like the quality control for your entire mental workshop. It's about making sure that the lens you use to see the world is crystal clear and not all warped by your hidden biases.
The source uses this wild analogy, but it's perfect. Think about this. Our brains run on autopilot most of the time, using old rules and mental shortcuts to get by. But sometimes, just like those ants, we apply an old program to a totally new situation and completely misread what's happening without even having a clue.
And these mental glitches, they show up as what we call cognitive distortions.
You've probably heard of some of them. There's confirmation bias, where you only look for evidence that proves what you already think. Or something like black and white thinking, which takes a super complex situation and shoves it into a simple good or bad box, completely ignoring all the gray areas.
So how in the world do you catch yourself doing this? Well, here are 3 really practical ways. First, anytime you feel 100% certain about something, just pause. Second, try to make the strongest possible argument for the other side. And third, pay attention to emotional spikes. That feeling of defensiveness, it's often a huge red flag that a bias is at work.
Okay, so we've got our 4 tools in the toolkit, but what does it actually look like? What does it feel like to put it all together and live with this kind of coherence day in and day out?
Well, it means you stop just bouncing around, reacting to whatever life throws at you. Instead, you start building. You use your toolkit. You connect ideas to find deeper meaning. You filter your choices to line up with your values. You think about the long-term consequences, and you're always cleaning the lens you use to see reality.
And that right there is probably the most important takeaway from this whole idea. This sense of clarity, of purpose. It's not an accident. It's not something you just find one day. It is an act of daily construction. You are the architect, and this is your project.
So, I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Every single day, whether you know it or not, you are laying the bricks of your own mental framework. The only question is, are you the one holding the blueprints?